I remember that feeling like it was yesterday, the heavy weight pressing down on my chest every time I opened my eyes in the morning. The constant barrage of calls from collectors, the mounting bills from every corner, cards, loans, overdue notices. It was as if I was caught in a dark tunnel, and no matter how hard I tried to find the light at the end, all I could see was more darkness ahead. I felt helpless, trapped, desperate to find a way out. I told myself I'd get there someday, that somehow things would change. But somehow, the days turned into months, and my debts just kept piling up, feeding my anxiety and undermining my confidence. Looking back now, I realize a huge part of that struggle wasn't just about the money. It was about what was happening inside me, in my mind, in my spirit. I kept thinking, I'll never get ahead. I believed my financial situation was a fixed reality, something that I would just have to accept forever. Every new bill felt like a confirmation that I was sinking deeper and deeper into a hole I couldn't escape. I started to believe that peace, clarity, and abundance were only for other people, those who had luck or connections or some secret I would never find. I clung to that belief even though deep down, I knew it wasn't entirely true. Still, I let my fear drown out my hope. There's a reason I'm sharing this story with you today, because I know I'm not alone in feeling trapped. I know what it's like to wake up with that sickening sense of dread, feeling suffocated by the weight of unpaid bills and the endless cycle of financial struggle. It's exhausting, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You start to think that your situation will never change, that maybe you're just meant to live this way, always chasing after more, but never quite reaching it. But here's what I've realized since that dark time. The way I was looking at everything was wrong. What if I told you that the moment I stopped obsessing over how much I owed, the moment I started shifting my focus away from scarcity and fear, that's when everything changed? What if I told you that the real shift came not when I paid off a single bill, but when I changed my mind about what's possible? I discovered that change begins long before the money comes, long before the debt magically dissolves. It starts right inside, in how we see ourselves and what we believe we deserve. For so long, I thought peace meant having a pile of cash and zero debts. That was my ultimate goal, pay everything off, and then I'd breathe again. But the truth I uncovered is far more powerful. True peace and freedom start with the way I think, the stories I tell myself, the way I see my life. Because, somehow, I was allowing my fears to shape my reality. I was attracting more problems because I was constantly focused on them. I believed I was trapped, and so my actions, even unconsciously, kept reinforcing that trap. It's a vicious cycle we get caught in when our mindset is rooted in scarcity and desperation. The turning point was realizing that I had the power to change my story, that I could choose to see things differently, see possibilities instead of limitations. I didn't need to wait until I was debt-free to feel peace and hope. I learned that my first step was to reprogram my mind, to break free from the mental chains that kept me stuck. That's when I started to act with clarity, purpose, and belief in my own worth. If you're listening right now, I want you to know that I understand. I've been where you are, feeling overwhelmed, lost, and convinced that there's no way out. But I promise, you're not as powerless as you might think. And the most important truth I want to share is this: the change you're seeking outside, the relief from debt, the financial freedom, it all begins inside you. Right now, today, with a shift in your thinking. That's what I want to explore with you as we move forward, to uncover the secret that no one talks about, the secret that can transform your entire relationship with money and abundance. Because I believe, with every part of my being, that you have the power to rewrite your story, to turn your circumstances around, and create a life filled with hope, clarity, and prosperity. And I'm here to walk that journey with you. Once I paused to examine the way I was viewing my situation, I noticed something profound. My thoughts had become like a heavy fog rolling in, obscuring every possibility of clear vision. I realized that my mind was acting as the greatest obstacle, a self-imposed barrier blocking the flow of positive energy necessary to attract solutions and new opportunities. Instead of seeing doors opening, I kept fixating on dead ends, dismissing any chance that change might be just around the corner. It was as if I had trained my focus on limitations, and the universe was responding accordingly, matching my mental state. What if I told you that this pattern is not accidental? Our mental landscape is like a garden. The beliefs we cultivate and tend to shape what eventually blossoms in our lives. If we constantly plant seeds of doubt and worry, only weeds grow. Those weeds choke out any potential for fresh growth. But if we start intentionally planting thoughts rooted in possibility, that's when the soil begins to transform. The question is, how can we harness this insight and turn it into a practical shift? Building on this, consider how your daily mental routines dictate what you draw into your life. Every thought is a brushstroke creating a vibrant or bleak picture. When you focus exclusively on what's missing or what's wrong, you inadvertently draw more scarcity toward you. Conversely, shifting the focus toward appreciation and positive expectation acts as a magnet for more reasons to be grateful. The act of gratitude is like throwing a hardy seed into fertile ground. It signals to your subconscious that you're ready for new possibilities. Perhaps you've already seen it in your own experience. Moments when you felt genuinely thankful. Opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere, almost as if the universe responded to your inner acknowledgement. Now, think about how fear might be secretly orchestrating your daily choices. Fear has a way of whispering, stay safe, avoid risk. But in doing so, it also keeps you confined to a familiar, limited space. The moment I recognized this, I realized I had been acting out of fear's script, limiting my potential, doubting my ability to create change. Instead of acting boldly towards what I genuinely desired, I played it safe within the confines of my current circumstances, which only reinforced feelings of stagnation. That's why understanding how fear influences our mindset is vital. It's a silent saboteur, convincing us that comfort is more valuable than possibility, that stability is more important than growth. One technique that radically shifted my perspective was to challenge those fears constantly. I would ask, what's the worst that could happen if I try something different? Almost always, the answer was less catastrophic than my mind made it appear. The power of this approach is in dismantling false narratives, replacing them with a clearer, more empowering understanding. This process helped me realize that what holds us back most often isn't the situation itself, but the stories we tell about what that situation means. These stories shape our emotional landscape and, subsequently, the decisions we make every day. Another layer to consider is the role of mental reframing. By intentionally shifting how I interpreted setbacks, I could preserve my energy and focus on growth rather than debris. For instance, when a deal fell through or a bill seemed impossible to cover, I reframed the event from being a personal failure to an opportunity to learn and adapt. This mindset shift turned setbacks into stepping stones and kept my motivation alive. Over time, I've observed that every obstacle offers a hidden lesson, provided I'm willing to see it from a different perspective. It's like changing the filter on a camera. What once appeared dull and discouraging now reveals a new path forward. Crucially, this internal transformation influences actions without requiring monumental effort at the outset. Small, deliberate adjustments and thought patterns generate ripple effects that align your energy with what you wish to attract. Think of it as tuning a musical instrument. A slight turn of the screw can bring the entire melody into harmony. The more you practice this mental tuning, the more naturally the extraordinary begins to flow into your experience. The universe responds to your vibrational frequency. This is not just poetic talk, but a scientifically observable phenomenon. When you elevate your mental state, your external circumstances follow suit, almost as if the universe itself is waiting for your cue. So, I invite you to look carefully at how you speak to yourself internally. Are your words supporting your growth or reinforcing barriers? It's time to take those internal dialogues seriously because they act as the steering wheel of your life's journey. Replacing doubts with affirmations, fears with curiosity, and frustration with hope can redefine what's possible within the space of a single moment. Remember, transforming your reality doesn't require mythic efforts or waiting for some distant miracle. What's needed most is a conscious choice to change your internal landscape. And once you do, everything around you will begin to shift without resistance, aligning with your renewed perspective. Once I started to see my financial distress as more than just a series of bad luck or unfortunate circumstances, I realized that I was also blindly trusting a set of ingrained stories I had accepted long ago. These stories had been handed down from early experiences, family struggles, societal conditioning, the way I was taught to view money as scarce, something to be hoarded or feared. Recognizing that these beliefs were not facts but opinions I had adopted was a revelation. It's like discovering I'd been walking around with a set of tinted glasses, distorting everything I saw. Removing those glasses meant seeing the world, and myself, in a completely different light. Building on this, however, I began to ask deeper questions. If my thoughts can shape reality, then which thoughts are actually guiding my path? I realized it's not solely about positive affirmations or hopeful dreams. It's also about cultivating mental habits that support specific outcomes. Before, I would occasionally catch myself dwelling on worst-case scenarios, like a loop that kept reinforcing my feelings of inadequacy. Now, I started to observe the inner dialogue more objectively, recognizing patterns that feed into my doubts. If I wanted change, I had to transform not just my goals but the very framework of how I communicated with myself internally. Another crucial layer involves the subconscious mind's role in perpetuating old patterns. This part of us operates like a hidden autopilot, often running programs without our conscious awareness. For example, if I was raised to believe that money was inherently stressful or that wealthy people were greedy, those beliefs would quietly influence my choices, subtly steering me away from financial confidence. The key shift I experienced was in identifying these deep-seated programs. I began to challenge their validity, asking myself, is this belief serving me? Or is it just a leftover fragment from past conditioning? This process is akin to peeling back the layers of an onion, each layer revealing a clearer, more authentic core of what I truly desire. Transitioning from understanding to application, I learned to employ design techniques that reprogram my subconscious perception. For instance, I started creating visualizations that weren't just wishful thinking but immersive experiences. I would imagine myself waking up in a home I loved, feeling the sensation of abundance not just as an abstract thought, but as a full-blown emotional experience, smiling, breathing deeply, feeling the texture of luxury or comfort under my fingertips. Engaging the senses in these mental rehearsals made the images feel real, stitching them into the fabric of my subconscious. This approach is like planting seeds in a rich soil. Well-nourished seeds are far more likely to sprout and grow into tangible results. Furthermore, I deliberately replaced stress with anticipation, an active mental state associated with readiness rather than panic. When I pictured myself managing my finances effortlessly, I did not dwell on the debts, but on solutions and pathways. I imagined my bank account growing, bills being paid with ease, opportunities flowing in effortlessly. With each mental rehearsal, I became more skilled at shifting into this energized state. This isn't about ignoring the challenge. It's about showing your mind that a different, more empowered story is possible. It's about rewriting the internal narrative so that your thoughts align with the life you want to create, rather than reinforce the reality you're currently experiencing. A fascinating thing I discovered is that consistent mental focus on this empowering vision begins to change the neural pathways in your brain, rewiring how you interpret the events around you. Think of it like renovating a house. If you keep reinforcing the new walls, the old ones eventually fall away, making room for a fresh, spacious living environment. This mental restructuring opens the door for new behaviors, habits, and decisions to emerge naturally, almost as if they're being drawn to you. As these changes take root, I observed that my actions started to follow suit. I felt more motivated to explore opportunities rather than shy away from them, more confident in my ability to navigate challenges. All the while, I learned patience, trusting that these internal modifications would gradually influence my external circumstances. This shift isn't instant, nor does it happen without effort. Still, it becomes easier when you realize that laying down new mental tracks makes the journey smoother. If I wanted to transform my entire financial outlook, I first had to shift how I saw myself within that picture. Because, ultimately, what we believe about ourselves influences every choice we make. When I started to genuinely see myself as someone deserving of abundance, my actions aligned with that new identity. It became a process, not a one-time event. And in that ongoing commitment, I found a new sense of control and optimism I'd never truly known before. As I continued to refine my inner landscape, I realized that shifting my perspective was only the surface layer of true transformation. Beneath those shifts lay a deeper engine, an energetic rhythm that I could tap into and amplify. It's like tuning a musical instrument to produce a richer, more resonant sound. The slightest adjustment in frequency can make a profound difference. I discovered that deliberately aligning my feelings with my desires was the key to breaking free from old patterns. This meant not just visualizing my goals, but immersing myself emotionally in the experience of already having achieved them. Imagine how it feels to hold your dream in your hands. The warmth, the excitement, the unshakable certainty. That's the vibration I sought to cultivate, because feelings hold the power to magnetize your reality in ways thoughts alone cannot match. Imagine shifting from a state of pleading to a posture of confidence. When I practiced this regularly, I felt a shift in my entire energy. My posture straightened, my voice grew steadier, and my mind adopted a newfound sense of authority over my future. It's incredible how genuine emotion can serve as a catalyst for expansion. The more authenticity I infused into my feelings, the more energetic force I generated. This process creates a ripple effect, sweeping through your subconscious and programming it to favor opportunities aligned with your freshest intentions. Each moment of genuine joy, gratitude, or expectation acts for me as a milestone, affirming, guiding the transformation from wishing to actively attracting. Beyond this, I came to see that surrender plays an essential role in this shift. It's easy to get tangled in obsessing over every detail, trying to control outcomes with sheer willpower. But I learned that over-controlling can create resistance, blocking the flow of abundance. Instead, I learned to loosen my grip and trust that everything was unfolding exactly as it should. Think of it like paddling in a river. If you fight against the current, you tire yourself out and make progress impossible. But if you learn to navigate harmoniously, aligning your efforts with the natural flow, you're carried toward your destination more effortlessly. This mental shift helped me release the constant burden of doubt and tension, anchoring me in a calmer, more receptive energy that allowed breakthroughs to manifest more smoothly. Now, consider how this approach applies when life presents obstacles. It's tempting to see setbacks as proof that my efforts are futile. Yet, I began to view those hurdles as signals, messages guiding me toward an even clearer picture of what I truly wanted. Each challenge, instead of being a reason to give up, became an invitation to refine my focus and deepen my resolve. I understood that resistance isn't an enemy to avoid but a vital part of development. By noticing where I was resisting and transforming that tension into curiosity, I shifted my momentum toward growth. This perspective reminded me that even the hardest lessons shape my character and, ultimately, attract stronger solutions. Furthermore, I committed to noticing the subtle signs that show I'm on the right track. Small victories, unexpected opportunities, or even moments of inspired inspiration all pointed me toward aligning more closely with my desires. I began to trust these signs unconditionally because I recognized that they were confirmations, markers of a new energetic pathway opening up. Each time I acknowledged progress, no matter how minor, I reinforced my confidence, transforming uncertainty into belief. It's like planting tiny flags along a trail, signaling that you're headed in the right direction. These markers kept me motivated and encouraged to persist through periods of doubt. Taking this deeper approach eventually made me aware of the importance of embracing a sense of personal worth. I saw that feeling deserving of abundance, without guilt or condition, was a vital component of this process. It wasn't enough simply to desire wealth or harmony. I had to internalize that I was inherently capable and worthy of experiencing prosperity. This realization was revolutionary because it shifted my focus inward, away from external validation or the approval of others. I started to treat myself with the same kindness and compassion I would offer a close friend who was struggling. By nurturing my sense of self-worth, I permitted good things to flow into my life without resistance. I didn't have to earn or struggle for abundance. I simply had to accept that I deserved it. Incorporating this understanding transformed the way I saw every possibility. Each moment became an opportunity to affirm my dignity and refresh my commitment to my highest good. I understood that the energy of self-love and acceptance creates fertile ground for breakthroughs. When I genuinely embraced this inner acceptance, I felt a new confidence emerge, an unwavering faith that I was capable of shaping my destiny consciously. That faith fueled my actions, so I approached challenges with curiosity rather than fear. Soon, I realized that aligning my inner feelings with my core values created an unstoppable momentum, one that attracted not just material gains, but a profound sense of fulfillment that no external circumstance could diminish. Building on that inner journey, I began to notice how often I was operating on autopilot, reacting instinctively based on conditioned responses I hadn't thoroughly examined. It's surprising how deeply rooted some beliefs about worthiness and abundance are. They're woven into our subconscious like ancient tapestries, often collecting dust but still influencing how we see ourselves. The moment I stepped back to scrutinize these unconscious narratives, I understood that most of my struggles stemmed from silent stories I kept telling myself about scarcity and failure. These stories acted like filters, coloring every interaction, decision, and thought. Changing them required a level of awareness I'd never consciously employed before. In fact, embracing this deeper self-awareness became a game-changer. I learned that feelings of inadequacy aren't merely fleeting emotional experiences. They're signals that point directly to embedded beliefs I could recondition. Once I recognized the emotional charge connected to these old stories, I gained the clarity to challenge them more intentionally. For example, if I felt unworthy whenever I thought about asking for a raise or pursuing a new opportunity, I would pause and confront that feeling. I'd ask myself, what story am I holding on to that fuels this belief? Often, I discovered narratives such as, I don't deserve success, or I can't handle wealth. These weren't facts. They were inventions my mind accepted as truths without question. Encountering these mental constructs, I began to see how they affected my choices on a daily basis, keeping me confined within familiar boundaries, reinforcing feelings of limitation. Instead of accepting them passively, I started substituting empowering affirmations that directly countered those beliefs. Words like, I am worthy of abundance, or success flows to me effortlessly, became mental default settings. Over time, I started to notice subtle shifts in how I carried myself, in the way I responded to challenges. It felt as if I was gradually rewiring the mental circuitry that once kept me stuck. That internal reconditioning created a fertile terrain where new opportunities could take root and flourish. Now, think about how horizons expand when we stop seeing obstacles as insurmountable and begin to view them as catalysts for growth. When I changed my internal dialogue, I saw difficulties not as dead ends, but as challenges meant to refine my approach and resilience. If a project stalled or an agreement fell through, instead of spiraling into despair, I'd see it as a nudge, an invitation to pivot or explore alternative routes. It's akin to adjusting the sails when the wind shifts. By tuning into new directions, I could harness unexpected breezes rather than oppose them. Developing this mindset meant shifting from a victim mentality to one of empowerment, recognizing that difficulties serve as stepping stones rather than roadblocks. Another dimension I uncovered involved refining my emotional response to setbacks. I understood that feelings of frustration or disappointment were inevitable, but how I managed those emotions determined whether I stayed in a state of stagnation or moved forward with purpose. By cultivating patience and patience's close cousin, trust, I learned to see setbacks as temporary and part of the creative process of manifesting my desires. Instead of rushing to fix things or force outcomes, I embraced a stance of gentle curiosity. It was as if I was learning to dance with life's rhythm instead of fighting against it. This approach reduced internal resistance, and I began to notice opportunities emerging precisely because I maintained that calm, centered energy. Further, I discovered that consistent focus on my desired state naturally heightened my awareness of hidden opportunities that had previously gone unnoticed. These opportunities often arrive dressed in simple forms: an unexpected conversation, a new idea, a serendipitous encounter. When I actively listened to my intuition and trusted in subtle nudges, I found that things started aligning more seamlessly. It became clearer that tuning into my internal guidance system is essential. It acts as a compass pointing toward what genuinely resonates. Once active trust replaces doubt, actions become more intuitive, and synchronicities multiply. It's like having a trusted friend whispering advice. Only that friend is my higher self, guiding me toward what I truly deserve. Most importantly, I learned that setting aside the need for control allows space for effortless flow. When I surrender the insistence on micromanaging every detail, I become receptive to energy shifts I previously dismissed or resisted. This surrender doesn't mean passivity. Rather, it involves a conscious acceptance that some elements are beyond my immediate influence. Instead of rushing to fix or force, I step back, hold a vision, and allow events to unfold naturally. Interestingly, during moments of apparent stillness, I often encountered breakthroughs, insights, or opportunities that would never have appeared if I'd been caught up in trying to manipulate outcomes. This entire shift centered on fundamentally trusting that life is inherently abundant and that the resources I seek are available when I am aligned with that truth. It's about moving past the mental barricades I'd erected from old doubts and opening myself fully to what's possible. When I adopted this approach, I saw my reality transform. Doors opened without force, serendipities multiplied, and I felt a profound sense that I was co-creating instead of struggling against the current. Unblocking this internal space proved the key to unlocking everything I desired on the outside. Once I shifted my focus from battling against circumstances to mastering the rhythm of life itself, I noticed something remarkable. Momentum tends to build when I leave room for spontaneous flow. For example, when I stopped obsessing over every detail of my financial plans and instead cultivated a sense of relaxed confidence, I found opportunities emerging effortlessly. It's as if my energy created a subtle pulse that attracted responses from the universe without forcing them. I didn't need to second-guess or micromanage every step. Trusting that the universe responds to calm, aligned energy opened pathways I hadn't seen before. When I surrendered control over outcomes, I felt a wave of relief wash over me, which in turn amplified my ability to pick up on cues and signals guiding me forward. Now, consider how this principle applies when obstacles seem overwhelming. Instead of viewing setbacks as personal failures or signs that hope is lost, I came to see them as cosmic feedback, part of a greater orchestration that's unfolding perfectly even if I can't see the full picture yet. For instance, if an investment I was banking on didn't materialize, I chose to see it as a redirection rather than a rejection. Viewing setbacks as part of a creative process allowed me to detach from frustration and openness to new ideas that might not have appeared otherwise. This shift in perception creates space for new opportunities. Much like clearing debris from a garden helps fresh blooms sprout. It was about appreciating that resistance isn't an obstacle, but a natural element of transformation. Our emotional state acts like a magnet, shaping the vibrational frequency we emit. That's more than just poetic metaphor. It's a scientific fact about energy, resonance, and attractor patterns. When I kept my feelings aligned with hope and genuine enthusiasm, I began noticing subtle coincidences that felt aimed specifically at me. Maybe it was a friend mentioning a job opening right after I visualized abundant income, or an unexpected opportunity showing up just when I needed it most. These weren't random. What I leaned into energetically was magnetized back to me as tangible realities. The power lies in cultivating a state of anticipation, not from a place of desperation, but from unwavering trust that what I desire is already on its way. Now, visualize how this principle operates in daily moments. It's like tuning a radio to the precise frequency of your own desires. A tiny adjustment in your mental state brings in clearer signals and sharper clarity. I found that the more I zone in on feelings of gratitude for what I have, the more I pull in new reasons to feel grateful. The act of appreciating what's already present acts as an energetic amplifier, multiplying my capacity to attract more good into my life. When I mirror this energy in my actions, like taking inspired steps or sharing my intentions openly, the universe responds by aligning opportunities in ways I couldn't have manufactured through effort alone. An additional insight came from becoming hyper-aware of not just what I was asking for, but how I was asking. Subtle distinctions in my tone of voice or inner assumptions created either a barrier or a bridge. If I believed wealth was reserved for a select few, that belief subconsciously blocked my access to greater abundance. Conversely, fostering a mindset that felt like the universe was a vast, limitless ocean made me more receptive to abundance I'd previously dismissed as out of reach. It became clear to me that the quality of my internal dialogue, especially about my deservingness, shaped every external result. The more I nurtured feelings of worthiness, the more I saw opportunities mirror back that confidence in tangible ways. Building on this, I recognized that alignment isn't achieved solely through mental focusing. It also involves aligning your behaviors and energy with your intentions. Saying affirmations is vital, but embodying the confidence and excitement as if your desires are already realized creates a powerful resonance. I began to act as if I had already achieved my goals, moving with certainty rather than hesitation. This doesn't mean forcing things into existence, but adopting a posture that matches your vision. When your energy is congruent with your dreams, walking, speaking, thinking, your actions become effortless expressions of that new reality. In time, synchronicities increase, and the universe begins to mirror that harmony back to you. And so I learned that the moment I release attachment to specific outcomes, surrender becomes a form of active trust. Instead of pushing or desperately grasping at whatever I think might bring relief, I relaxed into the knowing that everything is unfolding perfectly. It's like floating on a calm lake, where the current guides you gently toward your destination. The more I allowed space for divine timing and simply stayed aligned with my intentions, the clearer the signals became. Opportunities that once seemed hidden suddenly revealed themselves, day after day, when I stopped trying to force them. Trusting the unseen force behind creation turned out to be one of the most empowering shifts I could make, because it opened a channel for abundance to flow freely, not through struggle, but through harmony. Reflecting on this journey so far, I see how all these pieces have woven together into a tapestry of personal transformation, each thread delicately interlaced, holding a profound meaning that transcends surface understanding. It's as if I've been sculpting a new foundation beneath my beliefs, carving out old perceptions heavy with doubt, and replacing them with a resilient core of trust and possibility. Every insight I uncovered became like a guiding star, illuminating how deeply our mental and emotional patterns influence the landscape of our reality. Each lesson felt like a catalyst, stirring the dormant potential that had been waiting silently in the background, whispering of what could be achieved if only I dared to shift my internal alignment. The subtle art of repositioning my focus wasn't about clinging to fleeting optimism, but about redefining the core of my relationship with everything I desire. Picture it akin to tuning a set of strings. When the tension is just right, the music resonates with clarity, filling the space around me. Only then do opportunities, once muffled or drowned out by noise and distraction, begin to emerge with harmonic richness. The act of fine-tuning internally, cultivating feelings of worthiness, embracing effortless trust, transformed tension into a gentle, persistent current that carried me forward, undeterred by the usual obstacles that once felt insurmountable. What becomes evident is how deeply these dynamic shifts create a ripple effect that extends well beyond the personal realm. The capacity to engage with life from a space of calm clarity acts as a magnet for opportunities one hadn't previously perceived. The barriers that once seemed impenetrable dissolve when I no longer impose my limited perspective on what's possible. Instead, I find myself flowing with the natural momentum of energy shifting in my favor. Opportunities unfold, not as a series of random events, but as cohesive pieces fitting seamlessly into a larger, more vibrant picture I am actively co-creating. This realization holds an exhilarating promise that the external landscape responds in harmony with internal harmony. As I traverse this terrain of self-discovery, it becomes clearer that every small adjustment in my outlook acts as a vital keystone, an element that fosters a more resilient, expansive state of being. The importance lies not in dramatic gestures, but in consciously choosing what to focus on, how to feel, and what stories I entertain within. It's like tending a garden. The growth depends on daily attention and care, cultivating conditions that nourish what's truly meaningful. When I nurture a sense of openness, I start to notice how effortlessly doors open where closed doors once seemed permanent. The shift in energy becomes almost tangible, transforming the way I navigate each day. This understanding illuminates how feelings and thoughts intertwine to craft a landscape where possibility expands naturally. The embrace of patience and gentle conviction creates a fertile backdrop where what once appeared blocked begins to flow freely. Those moments of doubt, which previously seemed like insurmountable walls, now dematerialize when approached from a perspective of trust rather than struggle. I witness how deep internal shifts manifest externally as new circumstances, like a seed sprouting and reaching upward through soil once thought too tough to penetrate. It's a reminder that the true power to change resides within, constantly working beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. What resonates most strongly is how this awareness invites a sense of responsibility, an understanding that I hold the key to unlocking the barriers that keep abundance at bay. Each thought, each feeling, acts as a signpost steering me toward alignment. When I honor that inner voice guiding me toward hope and expansion, I'm no longer passive witness to the unfolding of my life, but an active participant, shaping the story moment by moment. That realization fuels a quiet confidence, one rooted in the knowing that the process is ongoing and that every deliberate choice contributes to the momentum of manifestation. Ultimately, what I now comprehend is that there is a delicate dance between intention and receptivity, an art that, when mastered, unleashes limitless potential. It's about finding that precise balance where inner calm meets inspired action, creating a harmony that naturally attracts what I most desire. My focus shifts from trying to control outcomes to aligning myself fully with the flow of creation, trusting in the process as it unfolds with grace and precision. When that alignment becomes habitual, the external reveals evidence of a life lived in harmony, every step, every moment, weaving into a narrative filled with possibility, clarity, and hope. Looking back, I realize how much of my life was shaped by invisible walls I didn't even see clearly. These barriers weren't built of concrete or steel, but formed from the stories I accepted as truth, stories about my limitations, worthiness, and what's possible. I spent so long believing that external circumstances dictated my happiness, that my financial situation was the measure of my success or failure. Yet, deep inside, I sensed a different truth, that beneath the surface, a powerful current was waiting to be awakened. It was a current that could carry me beyond doubt, beyond the confines of old beliefs I had clung to for security, even if they kept me stuck. Discovering that I could influence this unseen flow changed everything. Suddenly, I saw the world as a mirror that reflected my inner state. When I felt anxious, I seemed to attract more reasons to worry. When I embraced hope and gratitude authentically, opportunities seemed to find me, almost effortlessly, like gentle whispers guiding me toward where I truly wanted to go. The shift involved more than superficial positivity. It was about embedding a deep conviction that abundance was my natural birthright. When I learned to listen to my inner voice and trust my intuition, pathways opened that seemed impossible before. I began to understand that my energy was the secret currency I could trade for the life I desired, if I aligned my feelings and thoughts accordingly. What I've come to see is that transformation demands courage, a willingness to question long-held beliefs, and to step into a new story of self-worth and possibility. It means rewiring the subconscious mind so that old doubts and fears no longer hold power over my decisions. Instead, I start to notice how every choice I make can either reinforce scarcity or invite prosperity. When I choose to see myself as capable, deserving, and aligned with abundance, I send out vibrations that naturally draw similar energies into my experience. The process isn't about forcing or controlling outcomes. It becomes a matter of synchronizing my inner world with my deepest intentions. As I became more aware of this energetic dance, I saw how perceptions create realities, how trust and openness act as the missing links between desire and manifestation. I learned to cultivate a sense of calm confidence, standing steadfast in the belief that what I seek is already mine, waiting for my acknowledgement. This shift in perspective made me more receptive to subtle signs, unexpected opportunities, or intuitive nudges, guiding me along a path that once seemed obscured by doubt. Throughout this journey, I realized that growth requires patience, and understanding that true change often manifests behind the scenes before becoming visible in the physical realm. What I also understood is that no external achievement compares to the inner peace gained through alignment. When the mind and heart operate in unity, life unfolds with a graceful ease I hadn't known before. Rooms fill with light, opportunities bloom in unexpected spaces, and even setbacks lose their sting because I now see them as necessary lessons shaping my higher understanding. This process is ongoing, an art woven through daily choices. The energy I choose to embody at each moment shapes what flows my way. Abundance isn't something to chase. It emerges naturally when I come into full harmony with my inner truth. Looking deeply into all this, I realize a vital truth that's easy to forget. We hold the power to redefine our journey. Our thoughts are not just fleeting ideas. They are architects shaping the foundation of our reality. When I embrace the responsibility to nurture thoughts rooted in trust and love, I am laying the groundwork for miracles to occur. It's about recognizing that my feelings act as the compass, pointing the way to what I truly want to welcome into my life. There's a quiet strength in surrendering control and trusting that every step, even in uncertainty, is part of a perfect unfolding. That trust becomes the seed from which real, lasting change blossoms, rooted in a certainty that the highest good is always available, waiting patiently for me to claim it. In truth, this process pushes beyond the superficial and invites me into a space of authenticity and power. As I learn to listen inward more intently, I begin to see that life's greatest miracles occur when I align my inner landscape with the expansive potential that's always present. Let this message serve as a gentle reminder. No matter where you are in your journey, your inherent strength is greater than any challenge. The moment you decide to believe in your capacity to shape your reality, transformation moves from a distant hope to an immediate, living reality. Keep walking that path with faith, knowing that the most profound shift happens when you quietly accept that you are the author of your experience, charged with the divine ability to turn dreams into vibrant, living truth.